Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Star Wars, The Clone Wars. Welcome back to Star Wars, folks. I'm not going to say who it stars because it's no. Unless if it's Ashley Eckstein, Samuel Jackson, and Christopher Lee. But that's about it. That's all I know of. And I remember going to movie theaters for this thing a couple of times. And did I like it? Well, let's see about that. We'll get into the review in just a minute. But the only reason I'm doing this right now is because there's a new mini-series coming out of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I will review that in a few weeks after the last episode is aired. And I'll think about maybe doing the holiday special or the couple of the Ewoks movies. I'll think about that. But for now, let's get into the Clone Wars. We get a recap that sounds like an old brief documentary mini-movie about how the Clone Wars is going, and it's necessary if you watch the Clone Wars TV series. And while at it, we learn about Jabba the Hutt's son getting kidnapped as Chancellor Palpatine tells Jedi Masters Yoda and Mace Windu to get Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker to find Jabba's son, and the animation looked good for only on the TV, but not so much as a movie. After a Clone War battle, we get a Jedi Padawan named Ahsoka Tano, who is going to Anakin Skywalker as a master, as this Anakin looks older than Hayden Christensen did in the prequels, which is a real problem after connecting this between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And Ahsoka is a better character in the TV show than in this movie, as she annoyed me. And this is her introduction to the series, as she was briefly in The Rise of Skywalker as a background voice, and she was played by Rosario Dawson in the second season of The Mandalorian, which are both things I've seen, but not the TV animated Star Wars stuff, which I'm catching up to as of today. But the character annoyed me for half the movie. This feels like a 4-part TV episode turned into a movie that should have been on the TV and not as a movie. While stuck on a planet in a war zone, the battle droids shield themselves as the clones try to shoot it down, but doesn't succeed, while Anakin and Ahsoka pass by their shields, as does Obi-Wan and the clones. And this is getting tedious to the point I want to turn this thing off like I did with Screamers. But I am about 20 minutes into the movie, but I'm sticking with it, as I'm more of a Star Wars fan than Philip K. Dick, as I don't care for these characters, like how Obi-Wan is distracting an enemy while having a drink, while Anakin and Ahsoka blow up the shields, and I'm thinking, this is just stupid. And is it a bit worse much worse than Revenge of the Sith, which is now second to worst as far as the prequels are concerned, for my opinion, and for Star Wars reasons, because now it belongs to this movie, and it should have been on the TV. Yoda tells Anakin and Ahsoka to rescue Jabba's son, while Obi-Wan discusses a treaty with Jabba the Hutt, and I specifically remember from Return to the Jedi that Jabba isn't supposed to be reasonable to the Jedi, as this movie is making him lighthearted, which doesn't make any sense to me. Ahsoka tells the story of how she saved Anakin's life, which is kind of a show-offish, as the acting in this is worse than any of the movies, while Obi-Wan goes to Tatooine to tell Jabba the Hutt about a treaty he'll make about bringing his son as well as the kidnapper, dead or alive, which will be impossible for a 100-minute movie. They get to a planet where Anakin and Ahsoka, along with the clones, fight off against some battle droids that sound just as stupid as they did in Revenge of the Sith. The Jedi and the clones enter a dungeon to get Jabba the Hutt's son, or as what they'll call him, Stinky, because he stinks according to what the characters say in the movie. Count Dooku tells Jabba the Jedi kidnapped Stinky, but reluctantly believes him as long as Dooku has proof, as he shows Ahsoka and Anakin have him, and they both learn he has a fever, as Jabba doesn't know they're taking care of him, which doesn't make any sense because Sith have always told the truth in the other movies, so I'm having a hard time with them lying for protection reasons, as the story doesn't make much sense. Ventress and the battle droids get Rex to message Anakin, as something fishy about the message was going on, and after Ventress leaves and they contact Rex, as he makes it alive, and Stinky gets weaker and weaker as they retreat to a ship back to a Tatooine on a dock, in which Stinky finds and gets off the rocks some droids and flies some bug, in which I don't know what that's called. And as they get closer, it's a junker and find the droid that led them to Stinky, turning out he's a traitor, as I'm bored as this is a bad movie. Obi-Wan finds Ventress after she has a word with Dooku and have a fight while Anakin and Ahsoka get off the planet and on the way to Tatooine, delivering Stinky to his father as they find a way to make him breathe again. And Obi-Wan fights Ventress, and he wins as Ventress fails and runs off, and the choices are bad, and the choreography is terrible in this as well. Ahsoka makes Stinky take a medicine as it works on him while on the way to Tatooine. Jabba learns from Ventress they killed Stinky, in which they didn't, as they learned from a message no thanks to Dooku. And Anakin and Ahsoka get to Tatooine as they get shot down to the planet. And this isn't as spectacular as the fight ends in the original Star Wars with the Millennium Falcon. They get out of the ship, and Dooku sends out his bounty hunter to go after the two Jedi, while Padme Amidala learns that the Jedi has killed Stinky, and Padme goes to Jabba's uncle Zero the Hutt to tell Jabba that it was a misunderstanding, and to tell Jabba the truth about what the Jedi are doing, which is to save him. And Zero throws Padme out as she gets loose, and she learns Zero was the one responsible to kidnap Stinky into the hands of Dooku, and Padme gets captured and taken to the dungeons for Dooku's allies, and C-3PO gets to Zero's palace, and some clones and arrests Zero with Padme, as Anakin and Ahsoka walk to Jabba's palace, and at nighttime, when they get encountered by Dooku, as the audience is led to believe Dooku killed Stinky, but he actually cut some rocks off. But Ahsoka had him the whole time, as some droids attack Ahsoka, and Anakin finishes the fight with Dooku, and rather early, and takes off with his speeder, and passes by to get to Jabba's palace, while Ahsoka is in trouble, and she finishes the droids and gets to Jabba's palace with Stinky as they're almost dead, but Padme tells Jabba the truth about the plot, and Jabba agrees to the treaty while Dooku gets away, and the Jedi wins the day. And I was checked out after 20 minutes into this movie, as it got worse as this climax by the end of the day. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 1.8 out of 10. As a longtime Star Wars fan, as I'm catching up with the TV stuff, including the animated shows, but this belongs on the TV, not as much as a movie, as it's very problematic, with Anakin looking much older than he did in the prequel trilogy, which doesn't make any sense. The animation looks like it belongs on the TV, and the acting in this is much worse than any of the movies, as the story doesn't make much sense. And as this is the worst of any Star Wars movie, including the sequels, which I sort of believe, and prequels, which in my opinion is still the bad ones, but not the worst. This is the worst. This movie is bad for sure, as it's worse than the prequels, and I don't care for these characters at all, and the choices are bad, and the choreography is terrible, and this is the worst Star Wars movie / TV show or miniseries yet to date. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and I'll be back in a few weeks with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and until then, the Force will be with you, always.